Hello everyone, this is Anna from Savvy Cat Realty, and today I'm here to walk you through the process of moving to Portugal. So for those of you who don't know, Savvy Cat Realty is a relocation and investment agency that helps expats move to Portugal in a lifestyle way. We try to do everything in a sustainable way so that the local prices are not inflated and everyone in the process is benefited. We also work with both rentals and purchases, so if this makes sense to you, do check out our website in www.savvycatrealty.com, where you can find all of our information listed transparently. So going into today's topic, which is a walkthrough of the process of moving to Portugal. So the process of moving to another country is of course very complex and can be an extremely stressful one. The first thing, of course, would be picking the country, and I'm guessing here that you have already picked Portugal, so that's the intention of this video. Do note that the process of moving and the bureaucracy of visas and the number of things does vary very drastically from country to country, even within the European Union. So this guide is specifically for Portugal. So the first thing, of course, you need to figure out is why you're moving to Portugal. I would say this is a very important thing, as this will be your motivation throughout your journey. Is it for a better quality of life? Is it for a better cost? Is it for your children getting better opportunities and education? It can be a number of reasons, and all of them are valid. You just have to understand and know what your own is. And I would say the second thing that it's very, very important to figure out is your budget. Moving to a different country can be a very stressful and costly process. Portugal itself is a very affordable destination within the European Union, and that is why it is so popular, but it's not exactly free of cost or anything like that. So of course, one of the things you would need to figure out is your budget and how much are you willing to spend on this process. There will be a lot of costs. There will be the trips, there will be, if you want to bring your belongings, may have to contract a transport company or a shipping, an overseas shipping, and those have very significant costs. There's the cost of the visa itself and the documentation. And I highly recommend hiring a relocation company such as ourselves, because the process, like I said, it's fairly complex with the documents involved, and there's a lot of steps to it, so it's a lot easier to have someone on our side that already knows how to deal with these steps. So the next step, after you have figured out why you are coming to Portugal and what is your budget to come to Portugal, is what is the visa you are getting. And the visa you are getting will be highly tied to your budget and your own availability. I am not going into a lot of detail into the visas here. I actually have another video where I explain about the visas in a lot more detail. So here I'm just going to tell you that the visas that we work the most with are the digital nomad visa, the retirement or D7 visa, the golden visa, and the entrepreneur visa. So I myself and my company tend to work the most with what we call the self-sustainable visas, which means that you come to Portugal, but you are able to financially provide for yourself. And that's what you have to prove in these visas. So you will be needing a number of documentation regarding proving this situation, including extracts from your bank, if you have retirements, if you have investments. You do not have to move all of your money over. It's actually not at all advisable to do that, but you do need to prove that you can move a sustainable amount of money to Portugal. And what is a sustainable amount of money? So theoretically, you have to have more than Portuguese minimum wage. Portugal's minimum wage is just over 800 euros. So that's not a lot of money. Realistically, though, you cannot actually live in this income very comfortably. Well, you can if you do not have housing expenses. If you have housing expenses, then the reality is very different, and it will depend very drastically on where you are. The cost of rent and the cost of property varies drastically according to location, being Lisbon one of the most expensive or the most expensive in Portugal, with average property prices over 5,000 euros per square meter and average rents over 2,000, so easily over 1,500. So obviously it is not possible at all to live in Lisbon with Portuguese minimum wage, which is one of our current political problems, but that's a whole other kind of worms. And therefore, it is important to understand where you want to go because that will highly affect your budget. So all of these things are things that we help you with if you decide to work with us. One of the things that we do is trying to figure out what is realistic for your budget and how to optimize that budget according to your own lifestyle needs. This is something that I can give some pointers, but I cannot exactly give you a solution to because it will drastically vary on your own lifestyle needs and budget. So, like I said, things that you should figure out on your own is why you're coming, what is your budget, what fits that budget, what are the things that you want to improve of your life, and whether or not you are able to prove that you are able to sustain yourself in Portugal in order to get your visa. If you have all of these things, then the next thing would be to start preparing everything for getting the visa and making the move. So the main things that you will always need when you are in Portugal is a NIF number and a bank account. The NIF number is the fiscal identification number here in Portugal, and you will need it for absolutely everything. So you need it to make a rental contract, you need it to open a bank account, you need it to sign anything, to receive any kind of money in Portugal. So that's the first thing you need to apply to. If you are an international citizen, you will have to have a fiscal representative that is kind of your sponsor when you apply for a NIF number. We do that for our clients. It's included in our packages. So that is also something we obtain for our clients is the Portuguese NIF number. And the next thing would be the bank account. The bank account can be a bit tricky, and I also have a video with more details on how banks and loans operate. But the important thing to know is that opening a bank account digitally is possible, but it's more and more difficult. It's a lot easier if you are an European Union citizen. And in that case, there's a number of banks that do the process digitally with not a lot of hassle. However, if you are not an European Union citizen, you will probably have to jump through a few hoops and they will require a lot more documentation, especially if you want to open digitally. And they also may request your documents to be apostilled, like your birth certificate and marriage certificate and some other documents may be required to be recognized by the embassy. So the bank acceptance, and the banks have lately been tightening up on these measures a lot more. We currently work through internal contacts that we have in order to facilitate these processes, but they have been becoming narrower and narrower. So be aware that as time goes by, we don't know for how long we all be going to stay able to open bank accounts in Portugal digitally. We hope, of course, that we will stay able for as long as we can. But if the regulations of the Portuguese bank, the Banco de Portugal, which is the bank regulator in Portugal, they have been getting tighter and tighter. And it has been, the banks have been a lot more complicated when it comes to opening bank accounts digitally, and we may get to the point where they need to be open in person. But for now, it is still possible, and we hope that we can keep doing that for a longer amount of time. This is all, like I said, included in our services. For our clients, we include the NIF number, the bank account, also the lifestyle support and helping figure out how to make the most of what you can and what you have and where in Portugal is the best for you. Our packages include tours. These lifestyle tours end up being very important for our clients. Some people, they try to, they think that they don't need a tour, that it's just going by a location and like a touristic tour. It's really not. The tours that we do are completely different. We do it from a living and a residency perspective. We show you how the cities are from a living perspective, how long it takes you to get to places, what kind of cultural life you have, if you have supermarkets nearby, if it's good or bad neighborhoods. You will have the agents on your side. There is always at least one agent fully for you on these tours, and they are full-day tours, answering all your questions about these locations, including prices and the real estate market. And these tours are generally what defines in our clients where they want to be. So we generally tailor these tours to our clients' needs. On their first consultation, we try to understand what are their needs, and then we match those needs with locations and use these tours to show them those locations. And with that, they generally have a very good idea of where they want to settle. You can, of course, also do something like this on your own. It will just require a lot more of your own research in finding locations that you are suitable for yourself and then exploring them by yourself. But I do think that this is an extremely important step, especially if you are looking to move and reside in Portugal for a longer period of time. And I think it's very important to kind of end up in a place where you are happy and feel comfortable. So that is the goal of getting these matches done through the tours. Anyway, the next thing that I think it's important to figure out is whether you are renting or buying. Once again, this is a very personal decision. If you are renting, you do not have a long-term commitment, and it's a lot easier to kind of move if you are not as happy or find a different place. While, of course, if you are buying, it will be a much longer-term commitment. From a purely investment perspective, I would say buying is a lot better option because you always get return of your money, especially if you make a good purchase. The real estate market has been very stable and growing for a long, long time, and I do not believe it will be crashing anytime soon. So from an investment perspective, buying a real estate asset is definitely a better option than renting. However, renting may be the right thing for you, and once again, that is a very personal decision. I would like to warn that even if you are renting, then you need to have minimum 3-4 months of rent ready to pay up front. And they will be requiring a lot of documentation too, because foreigners are seen as higher risk in a way that you don't have a financial presence in Portugal, and it's a higher risk for the landlord, so to say. So the normal amount to pay is like between 3 and 5 months of rent. I would say 6 months is pushing it, but it's not uncommon. I really don't recommend paying more than this, but I will also say that it's very common for landlords to ask for a year in advance, especially if it's foreign tenants. So do keep all of those things in mind. Another thing that it's important to have in mind is that for most visas, you will have to have what it's called proof of adequate accommodation, which means that you need to prove that you have a comfortable place to live in, and that is generally done by either having a rental contract or a purchase. Most people go the rental way because it's easier and faster, but do keep in mind that if you go the rental way, it is very likely that you will be paying quite a few months before you are able to use it. Because what happens in visas is that you generally have to apply at the Portuguese embassy in your country of origin, and you need to book your appointment and wait for your time. And this depends a lot on where you are coming from, but very often clients can only book, let's say we are in December now, they could only book for like February or March. And on this appointment in February or March, they have to have their contracts and a proof of adequate residency. And that means that they need to secure and sign the contract prior to this. The problem here is that 90% of the Portuguese rental market is put on the market on the same month it's out to start the rental. It's a very hot market and there's a lot of demand. So basically, let's say the places that are available in the market now, it's to start renting in January. It's very, very rare that we are able to get contracts ahead. So let's say in December, starting in March. This is extremely rare in Portugal. In most cases, you will close a contract in December to start in January. So you have to keep that in mind and be aware that you probably will have this expense. And it's likely that we will be paying for an apartment before you are actually able to come here and live in it. On the other hand, if you are purchasing, you just need the promise contract. So what we call here the CPCV. If you have a purchase CPCV, in this promise contract, there is the date to the deed. So that is also considered proof of adequate accommodation as long as the date of the deed is before your moving time that you also have to submit in your visa. So these are a few things to take into consideration when you are planning your move to Portugal. So the next thing is, of course, once again, the financial and tax. Right now, there is a lot of concerns around the tax situation because many of the Portuguese programs have been changed. There used to be some very advantageous tax programs that are currently a lot more limited. Currently, you only have the high qualification worker tax benefits. And in order to apply for those, you need to have an active position that is considered high qualification. So there is a list on that that you can consult, but it's no longer available for retirement and it's no longer available for everyone else because there used to be. And that is, of course, a concern for a lot of people because Portuguese taxes are quite high. I think in the end, I would highly advise to work with a financial advisor, especially ones that are already used to and specialized in moving money between Portugal and your country of origin. We work a lot in the US, so we have a partnership with some financial advisors that specialize with the US. But of course, we can also work with other locations. We are currently having a recent new financial partner. But either way, it's very important to do this work because your budget will be significantly altered by your financial planning, and the way that you declare your income and the way that you move it around can have a very, very high impact on taxes. And once again, this is something that will depend a lot on your own personal financial situation, so I cannot give very specific advice other than don't move all your money from your country of origin to Portugal. Only move the money that guarantees you a comfortable lifestyle and proof of being able to sustain yourself financially to the state. Because, of course, unless your taxes in your country of origin are higher. But either way, there is something called the double taxation agreements, which means that in most cases, you will not be double taxed. So this means, like, say that you have the highest 45% tax rate here in Portugal and your home taxes are 30%. Generally, you will pay your home taxes first and then only pay the remaining to Portugal. But once again, this will depend a lot on the agreements, and that's once again something that it's very, very advisable to check before you actually make the move, because can save you a lot of money. So I believe these are the main things to be technically aware when you are moving to Portugal. Another thing that is of course important is the community. Portugal is known to be extremely welcoming, and that is, of course, one of the things that makes it so popular, besides, of course, the climate and being quite affordable. But there is a number of communities of expats that you can join. Lisbon already has a huge communities. There are some really nice communities you can join to find people in other locations like Good Morning Portugal, in which I have a monthly spot too. And joining groups of your interests or doing volunteering can be great ways to make new people and be involved in the community. But the feedback I get is that it's generally quite easy to find friendly people in Portugal, but you do have to put yourself a bit out there, as there isn't as many organized events as you may find in bigger cities. Because as you probably know, although Portugal has beautiful cities, we are a fairly small country. We have a population of 11 million. That's less than a lot of cities I've been to. So you do have to keep in mind that the communities are often smaller, especially if you come from big international cities. So that's also something to take into consideration when you are planning this move. So I believe this covers everything that you should take into consideration in this walkthrough of moving to Portugal. There is a lot of things that you should be aware, and once again, I highly recommend working with the relocation. And also if, for example, we are both relocation and real estate advisors, but it's not a lot of companies that do the both things together. And the real estate market in Portugal can also be very tricky. I also have more specific videos about that, but I highly recommend picking one specific person to deal with your real estate and not jumping around dealing with multiple real estate agents. You know, just pick one and have that person help you. Otherwise, you may end up in tricky situations, and it's actually less likely that you will be doing a good deal. It's of course important to pick someone trustworthy, but that is something that you have to choose based on the information we find. We have our reviews on Google. We are rated 4.9 on Google with all authentic reviews from actual people that worked with us. And we also have a lot of testimonies. So it's important to go through those things when making your choice. But overall, if you want to work with us, once again, we have all of the information listed in our website in www.savvycatrealty.com. Our packages include a number of services that it's in common to include, such as lawyer support, lifestyle support, the relocation advisory, choosing locations in all of continental Portugal. We also work exclusively from the buyer perspective and make sure you are making a good deal. And also have engineers inspecting your property. That is also included in the package, the legal advisory, and of course, all of the contacts and negotiation. One of the parts that can be very, very frustrating in dealing with real estate in Portugal is actually making the contacts, because people often don't pick up, they don't reply you back, they don't follow through. They list things that are no longer in the market, and the whole process of actually navigating the market can be very frustrating. And if you don't have someone dealing with it for you, you will be having a lot of calls and wasting a lot of time. That can also actually be one of the most frustrating parts of the deal. The work with you is actually navigating this whole thing. But that's also included in the process and in our packages. So if this all makes sense to you, or if you have more questions, you can also book a free advisory call with us in our website in www.savvycatrealty.com. Calls with me are paid, but if you book a clarification call with my agents, they are free and you can book them anytime. Once again, in www.savvycatrealty.com. I hope that this was helpful, and we are here every week with new videos with information about Portugal. So I hope to see you all next week. Bye!